Hello, everyone. So there's some news that's very interesting about aliens and the UAP news that we've all been hearing about. But the difference is that this is a former intelligence officer of high rank who is now saying that the government is aware that these are not man made and that they are in possession of craft that are not man made and that they are basically learning to build them themselves. Of course, this may be old news to many people, um, although it's never been quite verified in this way by Newsweek, and other news stations have started to report on it as well. So this was very interesting to me because my first immediate thought was that this is probably, you know, something that is set up and there's probably some sort of catch to it. So I thought I would do a reading into this person to see what came up. So I'm going to go ahead and start and let you know what it was that was showing up for me. The first thing that I was seeing was, well, it was as if he was flying really fast on an airplane, and it was like he was going so fast that he was breaking through something, and it was like a sense of breaking through something. And then I was seeing a hoop or a ring, and it was as if he was jumping through a hoop. And I asked, what does this represent? And what I got was the workforce. So he's jumping through some sort of hoop that represents the workforce. I got the sense that he was given some permission on a low level of command, meaning the way that it was showing up for me was that there was two sections, and there was the higher ups and the lower ups. They're both authorities, but it was almost as if there was a disagreement within these two sections of the government. So the higher ups were not quite in agreement, but there was some sort of protection that he had from the lower levels of power. And I also got the sense that it was not the full truth that he was saying, so because of that, it was able to slip by and not be such a big deal, although on some level it is. He is allowed to say some small amount of truth, and it's okay because it was going to be released at some point in the future, but they weren't really sure when, and also that it can just be ignored as rumors. So it didn't seem like such a big deal that he could basically get away with it, and that was kind of. I don't know exactly what the hoops were that he was jumping through, but it seems like that has something to do with it. This information being released was not part of the official plan, so I initially thought that it was, part of the official plan to release this information to spread some sort of, I don't know, political narrative of some sort. But what I was reading was that this person in particular actually was not part of an official plan to spread some sort of narrative or agenda. But it is not too far away from that narrative that they're pushing. And because it's not too far away from it, and because it can kind of fall in line with it, it's only a minor annoyance, and it seems to be part of why it's happening. So he feels he is not going to get in trouble, is the sense that I get when I tune into him. He is awarded for his efforts by the lower levels of power within those who know. I saw this symbolized as a crown. I see that very commonly, with a crown being placed on someone's head. Although what's interesting is that when I asked to see what he thinks of the full truth, or if he was to be exposed to the full truth, how that affects him, and it was as if he was melting and turning into a pile of dust. So it doesn't seem that he knows the full truth, or that he could really necessarily handle it on some level. But he holds a small fragment of truth, and it was as if I was seeing this as like a nugget of truth within his heart, or within his heart chakra that was guiding him. So he believes in what he is doing. He's not just deliberately deceiving the public, which was my immediate suspicion when I heard the news. He is working with others on a blueprint of how to release the info, as well as how it will work with the higher ups in a way that is enough in line with their plans to work for both parties, that being the party of what the higher ups want and their agenda and narrative, as well as what he wants to expose. So again, there is some sort of agenda from the higher ups that is somewhat in alignment with this. And I can talk about that later. The idea of UFOs and UAPs is okay to talk about, but the alien aspect of it is going a little overboard, at least for now, at this point in time. But with technicalities of the rules and the narrative, these there was some understanding that he could get away with doing this and talking about this. So there is a somewhat of a secret plan about releasing this information to the public that was not known about to the lower levels of people who know this information in the government. And because of that, it makes it hard for them to be openly mad about their plans not being met when they are pretending that it's not a real thing. So in other words, if they're pretending that there's not some sort of agenda with leaking this information, then they would have no reason to have a problem with it, beyond just the obvious that it's kind of like top secret information and things of that nature. But there is some sort of technicality here that seems to be making it easier to happen. So they want to have control over the timing of the release of the information for strategic purposes. They don't seem to have quite a clear plan in mind, but they want to keep the information to themselves about the ET factor. And there's something about them not really being sure when they were going to release the information, but it was going to be held more for an emergency type of situation. So they already know that many people are aware of the UFO situation, and it seems to be becoming a situation where it's being leaked more and more, so they are on board with that being pushed, but only under their control. This way they can still control the narrative about it, and control it not necessarily being related to ETs. And this also creates more fear about other countries and keeps people focused on the battles between countries. So when I ask why not tell the people the truth, I get that there are different layers of answers here. the first answer is that they are not ready to know, and that was the sentence came to me in those exact words, as if that's what someone was saying. Um, there's also a reason of it being too dramatic of a shift that happens all at once that could cause unknown changes within society, which seem to have some validity in their minds. And this does actually seem to have some validity behind it. Um, but the real reason seems to be more political in nature, and the idea that knowledge is power comes up. They want to have secrecy so that other countries do not have this information because um, basically, if people question whether or not this is even valid to begin with, less people are likely to start learning more about it, and they want to be ahead of the curve and figure out the information before anyone else does, similar to the battle of developing artificial intelligence before other countries do, because they know that that gives them superiority in the global dominance of the world. So, there are some other things that I was reading here about why not to tell the truth, about some corruption, about money, about a house of cards falling, um, deals made with ETs, things of that nature. I'm going to leave the rest of this in my Patreon page. Um, so you can join my Patreon page if you would like to know the rest of this. Otherwise, thanks for watching and have a great day. And give this video a thumbs up if you liked it.